Welcome to the Sci-Fi Evolution channel. Leydan's footsteps echoed in the metal corridor as he walked steadily, his thoughts racing faster than his heartbeat. His name was Leydan Voss, a man who had survived many battles and had scars deeper than his skin. He was not just a man. He was a member of an elite interstellar team tasked with negotiating peace between the Zephyr and the Zirikons, a race known for their advanced technology and mysterious intentions. Leydan never imagined that this mission would lead him to the very heart of the Zirikon starship, where he would meet Queen Selene herself. The Queen was nothing like what the people of Zephyr imagined when they thought of extraterrestrial beings. She was almost 2.5 meters tall, her elongated figure shimmering under the soft lighting. Her skin was a kaleidoscope of colors, shimmering from dark purple to silver and blue. Her eyes shone like two suns, radiating intelligence and strength. The voice reverberated through the camera, its timbre rich and melodic, but at the same time domineering. "You're brave, Leydan Voss," the Queen said, her lips curling in amusement. "Few people have dared to approach me so directly." Leydan swallowed, trying to ignore the feeling that he seemed tiny next to her towering presence. "I'm not here for bravery," he replied, maintaining his composure despite the knot in his stomach. "I am here because your war has cost us dearly. Enough blood has been shed on both sides." Queen Selene tilted her head, studying him with piercing eyes. "Do you believe that simple words can end a centuries-old conflict?" Her tone wasn't mocking, but curious, almost intrigued. Before Leydan could answer, one of the escorts came over with a small metal object. It floated in front of him, easily suspended by an invisible mechanism. When he stopped, Leydan realized that it was a box, little more than a book. He looked at the object. Its surface was smooth and without seams, decorated with intricate symbols that seemed to emit a faint glow. "This is not an ordinary object," Selena explained, gesturing at the floating cube. She continued, "It contains a secret that can change the course of galaxies. Only a few of her people had tried to unravel its mysteries, and none had succeeded." She paused, leaning closer until she was hovering over him. "If you can open this box, Leydan Voss," she said, "I'll take it as proof of your worth. And if you succeed," she let the offer hang in the air, her gaze fixed on him, "I will offer myself to you as a bride." For a moment, Leydan thought he had misheard. He opened his mouth slightly and blinked quickly, not knowing whether to laugh or run out of the room in terror. "Wait, what?" he finally muttered. The corner of Selena's mouth twitched, but whether it was a smile or something else, Leydan couldn't tell. "You heard me right," she said softly. "My suggestion is straightforward. Solve the puzzle on the box, and you will not only gain my favor, but also an alliance between our peoples. However, if you fail..." She trailed off, letting the weight of her unspoken threat hang in the air. Leydan looked at the box, feeling a drop of sweat break out on his forehead. It seemed absurd. How could opening a simple box prove anything? And yet, something about Selena's confidence, her steadfastness, made him freeze. If she thought this test was important, then maybe it was. "Why me? What is it?" he asked cautiously, looking at her again. "Of all the soldiers, diplomats, and leaders, you chose me." Selena straightened slightly. Her eyes narrowed a little. "Because you're different, Leydan Voss," she said. "You have pain, yes, but you also have hope. I see potential in you. A potential that others may not see." She made a dismissive gesture with her hand, saying, "Enough questioning. Will you accept my offer?" Every fiber of Leydan's being urged him to refuse. Marrying the queen of an alien race was pure madness, but he knew that refusing the offer would mean losing any chance of ending the war. Despite the voice of reason that was echoing in his head, he nodded rigidly. "I agree." The box floated closer, gently sinking into his outstretched hands. It seemed heavier than it looked, and its surface was cool to the touch. When his fingers touched it, The symbols began to glow brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. A low rumble filled the room, echoing in his chest. Selena stepped back and said, "Let's see if marshmallows deserve to be saved." On a human starship that was orbiting the Zirikon mothership, Captain Darius Rennick, a seasoned veteran with streaks of gray in his once dark hair, was angrily pacing the bridge of the spaceship. His sharp blue eyes scanned the team, barely hiding his disappointment. The news of Leydan's meeting with Queen Selena has just arrived via encrypted transmission. While the rest of the team listened attentively to the report, Darius couldn't help but rub his temples in frustration. "Let me get this right," Darius growled, stopping abruptly in front of Lieutenant Kira Vell, the ship's communications officer. "Is our diplomat sitting in an alien throne room playing riddles with a queen who thinks it's some kind of space soap opera?" Kira grimaced at the sarcasm in Darius' words, but nodded anyway. "Basically, it is, sir," she replied. According to Leydan's account, the queen offered him marriage in exchange for opening a mysterious box. Leydan accepted the offer. The lieutenant raised his hands in despair. "Marriage? What's wrong with these people?" He was sent to negotiate peace, and now they're dealing with an intergalactic wedding. Lieutenant Vell cleared her throat nervously. "Sir, technically, if we succeed, we can get more than just peace. An alliance with the Zirikons could give them access to technologies beyond their current capabilities, not to mention avoiding total annihilation." Darius paced around, muttering, "But still, marriage to the queen? Who does that anyway?" Dr. Ezra Kalin, the ship's zoologist, spoke from the corner of the bridge. "Actually, sir, arranged marriages are not uncommon in some cultures, especially royal ones." He explained that historically, such alliances have often been used to consolidate treaties and alliances, and perhaps the Zirikons act similarly. Darius looked at him sternly. "Thanks for the history lesson, Doc," he said. "But I don't think Leydan signed up for the duties of a royal consort when he joined the army." Dr. Kalin shrugged guiltily, adjusting his glasses. "I'm just saying. Stranger things have happened." Before Darius could answer, another voice broke the tension. Commander Jace Harlow, Leydan's second-in-command and one of his closest friends, leaned forward from his seat. "Listen, no matter what happens," he said, "we need to trust Leydan. He is smart, resourceful, and determined. If anyone can figure out this situation with the box and the bride, it's him." Darius sighed, sinking into the captain's chair. "Okay, we'll wait," he said. "But mark my words, if this turns into a galactic scandal, I will blame you all." Despite his protests, Darius knew Jace was right. Leydan has proved his worth in difficult situations many times before. Still, he was worried. The situation left a bitter taste in Darius' mouth. Diplomacy was supposed to include treaties, discussions, maybe even a couple of handshakes, but not alien marriage proposals or magic boxes. While the crew dispersed to monitor the current transmissions from the mothership, Darius looked out the window at the huge alien ship towering in the distance. Inside this shining colossus, Leydan faced the challenges of God. For better or for worse, Zephyr's fate could depend on whether one soldier could solve the puzzle and survive the consequences. Meanwhile, on the Zirikon ship, Leydan was sitting cross-legged on the floor of a dimly lit cell with a shining box in front of him. He spent hours examining it from all sides, running his fingers over the intricate carvings, looking for hidden mechanisms or clues, but found nothing. There were no buttons, no levers, no obvious entry points, just smooth, cold metal pulsating, faintly, with a glimmer of light. "Are you kidding me?" he muttered, his eyes glued to the box, as if it might suddenly grow legs and start dancing. What a cosmic joke, he thought. Behind him, Queen Selene silently watched from her throne, her expression unreadable. From time to time, one of her escorts would pass by, offering treats or whispering advice, but Leydan ignored them all. His attention remained riveted on this annoying object. Hours turned into days, or at least that's how it felt. Time seemed to flow strangely on the Zirikon ship, where there was no natural light and food arrived without warning. Eventually, fatigue overcame him, and he collapsed to the floor, sinking into a restless sleep. Even in his dreams, he was haunted by symbols and endless corridors. When he woke up, something had changed. Blinking, Leydan noticed that the patterns on the box had changed slightly. If they had been flickering erratically before, now they seemed to be moving according to a certain pattern. Now that distinct sequences were forming, almost like constellations moving across the night sky. Leydan was fascinated. Curiously, he reached out and traced one of the glowing lines with his fingertip. To his surprise, the box responded. The pattern flashed brightly, and then rearranged itself into a new configuration. With his heart pounding, Leydan straightened up, momentarily forgetting about his fatigue. Could it be? Was the key to opening the box hidden in these shifting patterns? In the following hours, Leydan worked tirelessly, deciphering each new sequence that appeared. Some patterns required him to mimic their hand movements, while others seemed to respond to certain sounds or rhythms. Several times he thought he had cracked the code, but the box was reset, forcing him to start all over again. Throughout this whole process, Queen Selena watched Leydan with growing admiration. Although she rarely spoke, her presence was felt, and Leydan's determination grew stronger. Leydan couldn't shake the feeling that Selena wasn't just checking him through the box. She seemed intent on testing his patience, determination, and creativity. After what seemed like forever, he stumbled upon a breakthrough inspired by a game he knew from marshmallows called chess. Leydan began manipulating the symbols in the box using logic and intuition, as if they were pieces on a chessboard. The resistance of the box gradually decreased, and with a soft click, the lid opened. Leydan froze, his eyes widening as he stared into the compartment. There was a single crystal fragment inside, emitting an ethereal glow. Before he could react, there was a commotion in the cell. The escorts rushed forward, their voices filled with excitement, and their language sounded like music. Selena rose gracefully from her throne, her voice tinged with admiration. "Great job, Leydan Voss," she said. Leydan felt dizzy and looked at the woman confused. "What does that mean?" he asked. The woman smiled and extended her hand to him. "It means that you have earned my respect and my vow. Will you keep your promise?" she replied. Leydan fell silent, his fingers still tightly gripping the crystal fragment. He wasn't sure what he had agreed to or what lay ahead. Little did he know that the real adventure had just begun. As he looked at the crystal fragment in his hand, he noticed that it was emitting a soft glow, as if it was alive. The atmosphere around Leydan was filled with tension, so thick that it could be cut with a knife. The imposing figure of Queen Selene loomed closer, her luminous eyes fixed on him like two suns. Her expression was unreadable, but the importance of the moment was undeniable. "I, Leydan," he began, his voice trembling under the weight of the situation. He cleared his throat and tried again. "I didn't fully consider the consequences when I accepted your challenge, Selena. Few people do this, and yet I stand here, victorious where others have failed." Selena tilted her head, a hint of amusement playing on her lips. "Not many people, Zephyr," she said, "and yet here you are, triumphant where others have fallen. Do you regret your decision?" Leydan wasn't sure how he felt. Part of him wanted to escape the room, or maybe just wake up from what must be a strange dream. But the other part, a determined warrior who had faced countless battles, felt a surge of pride. He had solved an unsolvable code. He deserved it. Deep down, he knew that to leave now would mean abandoning not only himself, but also the fragile hope for peace between their species. "No," he finally said, meeting her gaze with as much determination as he could muster. "I don't regret my decision, But I need to know more before we continue. The queen raised a delicate eyebrow, intrigued. What do you want to know? Leydan asked firmly. Why is this box so important? Why do you want me to open it? Why are you willing to risk everything for something like this? Selena was silent for a moment, her eyes narrowed in thought. She then motioned for him to stand up, which he did, still holding the box tightly. She gracefully walked over to the nearest console, her long fingers deftly typing commands into it. A holographic display appeared above them, showing swirling galaxies, ancient star maps, and symbols resembling those on the box. This box, she said, is a portal to the past, to a time when our two species were one. It contains knowledge and power that can help us understand our common history and find a way to coexist harmoniously. However, it is also fraught with danger, and only those who are truly dedicated to our cause can unravel its secrets. Are you ready to take this risk, Leydan? What is it? She asked, her eyes shining with tension. Are you willing to risk everything you have for a chance at a brighter future? She began by gesturing at the object in Leydan's hand. This is a fragment of a larger artifact known as the Eclipse Core. It is said to contain the knowledge of countless civilizations, the secrets of creation and destruction, and everything in between. My ancestors believe that this was the key to understanding the very essence of existence. Leydan blinked, trying to process what she was saying. So this little crystal contains all of it. Selena replied, not alone. There are 7 other fragments scattered throughout the galaxy, each hidden in equally intricate puzzles. Each fragment represents a separate aspect of universal truth, wisdom, power, and unity. Together they form a single whole. Opening the box was just the first step, and my marriage to you fits into that. Leydan asked with a hint of doubt, holding up the fragment as a gesture. I'm sorry if I'm skeptical about the idea of tying myself to someone in pursuit of cosmic treasures. Selena smiled softly, her voice sounding like distant thunder. You misunderstood me. The bond between us is not about treasures, but about understanding the universe and our place in it. Together, we can unravel the mysteries of the Eclipse Core and gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This alliance is not just for my benefit or yours. By connecting our destinies, we create a bond between our peoples. It is a symbol of trust, cooperation, and common destiny. Zephyr and Zirikons have a lot to offer each other. Together, we can achieve greatness that no race could achieve alone. Her words resonated with him. For years, Leydan has been fighting conflicts driven by suspicion and anxiety. The concept of establishing genuine harmony was tempting, even if it was accompanied by some peculiar conditions. However, he was still skeptical about it. What if I refuse? What is it? He asked bluntly. If he rejects her offer, the queen's behavior will become a little more strict, but her tone will remain calm. She stated that if he refused, the fragment would remain in her possession, and humanity would lose the opportunity to participate in galactic affairs. He realized that it wasn't just about affection or loyalty, but about survival and dominance. He sighed and ran a hand through his messy hair. Aboard the human spaceship, Captain Darius Rennick was in a state of excitement. The news of Leydan's triumph and subsequent engagement spread like wildfire among the crew, causing a mixture of awe and disbelief. While some were celebrating a potential union, others were anxiously whispering about the consequences of such a union. I still can't believe it, muttered Lieutenant Kiravel, shaking her head as she watched the latest broadcast. One moment he's solving puzzles, and the next he's engaged to an extraterrestrial queen. How does it even work? Darius chuckled. I have no idea. Maybe they'll start planning a royal wedding. Jace, our guy is going to be the ruler of space, or whatever they call it, he said. We're talking about intergalactic politics. Do you really think the Zephyr leaders will let this happen without going crazy? Before Jace could respond, Dr. Ezra Kalen intervened. Actually, sir, there's a precedent for that. Throughout history, leaders have used marriage alliances to strengthen diplomatic ties. Think of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, or Eleanor and Henry II. Of course, none of them were related to aliens, but the principle is the same. Instead of negotiating contracts, we are trying to negotiate a marriage with extraterrestrial beings. Despite his displeasure, Darius realized that there was no turning back. Whatever happens next, Zephyr has officially intertwined with the Zirikons, and Leydan Voss is at the center of it all. Meanwhile, preparations for the ceremony are already underway on board the mothership. Zirikon escorts are busy decorating the Great Hall with shimmering fabrics and floating balls of light. Leydan, however, feels completely out of place in all of this. Dressed in ceremonial robes that make him look like a loser from a fantasy movie, he stands awkwardly by the throne while Queen Selena gives final instructions to her advisors. "You seem restless," she remarks, gliding towards him with effortless grace. Leydan hesitates, not knowing how to express his feelings. Finally, he settles on honesty. "It's just too much to comprehend. One day I'm fighting battles, and then I find myself on the verge of marrying an extraterrestrial queen. It all seems so unreal." Selena watched him for a moment, and then nodded. "Changes often feel that way. But remember this, Leydan. You are not alone on this path. I chose you because I see strength in you. Your potential. Together we will face any challenges that await us." Her words provided a kind of sense of confidence, but Leydan couldn't shake the constant feeling that he was entering uncharted territory. As the ceremony approached, he reflected on the path that had brought him here, from the battlefields of Zephyr to the heart of the Zirikon Empire. Every decision he made led him to this moment, but when the doors of the Great Hall opened, Leydan realized something important. It wasn't just about him. Whether he wanted to or not, he became a beacon of hope for both humans and Zirikons. But as soon as the ritual began, a sudden tremor shook the ship, sirens wailed, and red lights came on. Selena's expression darkened, and her eyes narrowed in alarm. "What's going on?" asked Leydan. Gripping the edge of the altar tightly, she hissed, "Splinter." Turning her gaze to the crystal fragment nearby, she added, "It reacts to danger. Someone or something is coming." Before either of them could respond, the walls of the cell began to flicker, and a dark figure materialized out of thin air. The intruder, clad in black armor and wielding a weapon unlike anything Leydan had ever seen, spoke in a voice colder than the void itself. "You shouldn't have awakened the Eclipse core. His secrets belong to no one, not even the queens." While chaos reigned around them, Leydan instinctively stood in front of Selena, his mind filled with questions. Who was this mysterious stranger? And what do they want from the shard? Whatever the answer, one thing was clear. The trials were far from over. The shadowy figure moved with unnatural speed, its weapon crackling with energy. When the energy pierced through the air, Leydan barely had time to react. He grabbed a ceremonial staff from the altar and used it to deflect the first blow. The blow sent him staggering back, but he managed to hold on, his instincts taking over. "You are not the ones who deserve it," he replied, his voice devoid of emotion. "I'm here to protect the core from those who might abuse it." Leydan's grip on the staff tightened as he prepared for a confrontation. "We didn't steal it," he said in a firm voice. "We've solved the puzzle, and we're not going to let it be taken away from us." The intruder's gaze remained unwavering, his eyes devoid of any emotion. "You are not the ones who are worthy," he declared, his voice devoid of emotion. "I'm here to protect the core from those who might abuse it." The helmet hid any traces of emotion. Ignorance was no excuse. The Eclipse core was sealed for a reason. Its power was too great for mortals or even queens to wield it. Before anyone could respond, the attacker struck again, aiming straight at Selena. Leydan reacted instinctively, pushing the queen out of the way as an energy blast hit the spot where she was standing. The explosion scattered debris, and the great hall plunged into chaos. In the midst of the battle, Leydan realized that they were outnumbered, not because of their allies, but because of fear. The Zirikon guards hesitated, not knowing how to counter the attackers' advanced weapons. Even Selena seemed to freeze for a moment, her usual confidence shaken by the sudden violence. "We can't fight them alone," shouted Leydan over the noise, dodging another attack. He glanced at the crystal shard still lying on the altar, its glow randomly pulsing. "What is this thing doing? Can she help us?" Selena hurriedly shook her head. "Just a fragment. Without the other 6 parts, it can't fully activate." But she paused, her eyes narrowed in thought. "Perhaps it can be used to disrupt their weapons?" Leydan asked, ducking behind a pillar as another explosion tore through a nearby wall. Selena quickly explained, "You have to direct your intention. Focus on protecting what's most important." The splinter reacts to determination and unity. Leydan stared at her in disbelief. "Do you want me to direct my intention? Seriously, there's no time for debate." Selena snapped, pushing him down the aisle. "Do it, or we'll all die here." Taking a deep breath, Leydan rushed towards the fragment, dodging the explosions and debris. His heart was pounding in his chest as he reached the altar, grabbing the glowing crystal. It felt warm in his hand, almost alive, and he closed his eyes, focusing on everything he could lose: peace, hope, the lives of countless others. For a moment, nothing else mattered. He paused, not knowing how to finish his sentence. "It's okay," Selena assured him. "You're a hero, Leydan. You saved us all." Leydan looked at her, a mixture of awe and confusion in his eyes. "I don't feel like a hero," he said. "I just feel it. I feel lost." Selena smiled softly. "You will find your way," she promised. "In the meantime, let's celebrate your victory. The Zirikons are in your debt." Leydan nodded, still not knowing what to make of all this. But he knew that he had done what he had to do, and he would face the consequences with courage. Leydan chuckled nervously, carefully placing the shard back on the altar. Well, that was a pretty interesting way to interrupt the wedding. Despite the remaining tension, a chuckle ran through the crowd. Even Selena's lips curved into a faint smile. For the first time since arriving on the mothership, Leydan felt a genuine sense of camaraderie, not only with the queen, but with everyone around him. The incident became a topic of conversation among both humans and Zirikons. The story of the mysterious guardian and Leydan's role in repelling their attacks spread quickly, cementing his hero status. Human Captain Darius Rennick reluctantly admitted that Leydan's suggestion wasn't as bad as he initially thought. The wedding ceremony was heavily guarded, but the atmosphere remained lighter than before. Leydan, when he exchanged vows with Queen Selena, felt a strange sense of pride. It wasn't the life he imagined, but he was starting to accept it. Together, they vowed to search for the remaining fragments of the Eclipse core, forming alliances and uncovering secrets along the way. The road ahead was fraught with many challenges, but Leydan knew one thing: Zephyr and the Zirikons were stronger together. Over the years, the union flourished under the leadership of Leydan Voss and Queen Selena. What started as an unlikely marriage has turned into something deeper, a bond based on mutual respect, trust, and love. These principles led them through the complexities of combining two very different species, having convinced skeptics on both sides that peace is not only achievable, but also worth the effort. Their search for the remaining fragments of the Eclipse core has become legendary. Each fragment presented new obstacles, from deciphering ancient mysteries to facing hostile factions who sought to seize the artifact's power for themselves. However, with each triumph, Their partnership grew stronger as the knowledge within the core revealed unimaginable wonders. Technological advances that healed planets, restored ecosystems, and bridged cultural divides across the galaxy. When the last fragment fell into place, completing the Eclipse core, its full potential was released, radiating harmonious energy that spread throughout the universe. Instead of causing destruction or chaos, the core energy served as a reminder that all beings, regardless of their differences, are intertwined in the tapestry of existence. It was a gift of understanding and harmony. Back on the Zirikon homeworld, Leydan and Selena created a life unlike anything they had ever imagined. Their house was a harmonious combination of human comfort and Zirikon sophistication. The gardens were huge and filled with bioluminescent flora. The walls were decorated with marshmallow-style artwork along with intricate alien carvings, and the rooms were filled with joyful laughter and melodious music. They hosted guests from all corners of the universe, organizing meetings where diplomats, scientists, and researchers exchanged ideas over meals that combined the flavors of countless planets. But the most remarkable transformation occurred when their family grew up. To everyone's amazement, including their own, their union proved successful. Their child, Kais, was a radiant being who embodied the best qualities of both parents: Selena's radiant personality and Leydan's determination. Kais quickly became a beacon of hope, demonstrating that even unlikely couples can give rise to something extraordinary. Raising Kais was an amazing experience that brought them closer as a family. Raising a child with a dual cultural heritage was not without its difficulties. It took a lot of patience and creativity to introduce Kayla to the traditions of marshmallows and the customs of Zirikonia. Leydan introduced Kayla to the joy of bonfires under the stars, stories of bravery, perseverance, and the joy of cooking together. Selena, on the other hand, taught her art, philosophy, and a deep connection to the universe of Zirikon culture. Despite their differences, Leydan and Selena have found harmony as parents. Watching Kayla transform into an inquisitive and compassionate young man filled them with pride. Her laughter echoed through the house, bringing light even on the darkest days. One evening, when the two moons were shining their silver light over the garden, Leydan and Selena were sitting on a stone bench. They watched Kayla chasing fireflies that danced like stars. The cool, fragrant air carried the scent of flowers from both marshmallows and Zirikonia. "And Zirikonia," Leydan said softly, with a hint of surprise in his voice. He glanced at Selena, her figure faintly shimmering in the moonlight. "When I first boarded your ship, I thought I was lucky to be alive. But now look at us." Selena smiled, her eyes reflecting the same surprise. "Me too, Leydan Voss. You were a surprise, a reminder that fate often leads us down paths we cannot foresee." Leydan grinned, leaning back on the bench. "Fate, really? If someone had told me back then that I would marry an alien queen and raise a child who would shine brighter than a supernova, I would have thought they were crazy. But we are here," Selena replied. Her tone was warm. She reached out and laced her fingers with his, her touch still carrying that familiar spark, a silent reminder of the bond they had forged together. Kayla ran up to them. Leydan, panting with excitement, held out a jar filled with trapped fireflies, asking Kayla if they could keep them. Kayla, excited by the wonders of the night sky, sat down between them and started talking about it. Leydan shook his head, saying that the fireflies should be free, but they could watch them for a while before releasing them. Watching the fireflies fluttering around, Leydan felt a sense of satisfaction. It was his family, his life. Although the vastness of the galaxy beyond their garden was unpredictable, they faced it together with courage, love, and unity. They stayed there long after they released the fireflies, looking up at the stars, knowing that somewhere among those lights lay a legacy of cooperation and understanding. At that moment, all that mattered was to be peaceful, joyful, and together. With 2 moons as their witnesses, Leydan Voss and Queen Selena have embraced a future more radiant than any star. A future based on the promise of their family's peace and resilience. They embrace the limitless potential of the cosmos, knowing that by joining together they could overcome any obstacle.